Hello, everyone. This is Martin here, and welcome back to another installment of the weekly update. And we're looking at trading opportunities, or we're looking for trading opportunities for the week of June the 6th to the 10th. That is coming up. Right now, it is Saturday evening that I'm producing this video, and I just want to make sure I get this to you off in the morning. And should be a pretty interesting week. Last week was a bit of a weird week in the sense that price for some of the pairs had not gone into the direction that I thought they would have. Instead, they made what's called a U-turn, and we're going to look at those pairs in just a second. But last week there was a massive U-turn on most of the on most of the currency pairs. Actually, it had been setting up for a couple of days on some of the pairs as well. And on Friday, there was the culmination of what's called the results of the non-farm payroll, and that is a special economic report that seems to provide a lot of volatility and price direction, especially if the news is good or bad. In this case, the news is for the United States employment figures. Very few people were new jobs were created. I believe it was around 38,000, well below the forecast of 160 something thousand. So, well off the projected mark, and that sent the markets in a tizzy. And you can see there's some huge, massive movements on Friday's price action. We're going to take a look at that. And now, the idea is with such a massive movement, will price continue? Will price pull back? We're going to take a look at those pairs and let's dissect the market and see what's happening or what's coming up for this week. Okay, so as always, we're going to start with the very first pair. It's the Euro USD. Okay, here we see the Euro USD weekly. I'm going to start off with the weekly and drill down to the daily charts and also take a look at the LEOD charts, or it stands for lazy end of day. But after 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, 4 bearish weeks, we had one huge massive candle. What was on the week there, and for the week it went up 304 pips, so you can see that right there. Uh, and it looks like price is heading up higher. Price bounced off the weekly trend line. This is a longer trend line that goes back. You can see to the from the end of November 2015 here. Okay, so I expect price to continue going higher, and I'm just going to do something. Okay, I'm going to double click on that. Okay, so you can see prices in an upward channel, up, down, up, down, up, down, now up. And you can see this channel here. And this is easy. You can always, if you want to just copy a trend line, double click on that until you see the white boxes, and then just click and drag, drag and let go of your mouse. And that will give you another line that's identical to the previous line. So basically, we can see price going a little bit higher, although take a look at here. And I'm going to draw in a right there. Okay, you can see with the crosshair. So with this price right here, we're almost at a major previous high going back to 2015, August to 2015. So, but I believe price is still going to go higher. And let's go down to the daily chart, and you can see this massive candle. Friday, this candle went up a total of 231 pips. That's quite a big increase, and that's all based on this bad news. So when there's bad news that comes out of the U.S., it's the euro that benefits from the bad news, and you can see what happened there. Price is now closed above the 50. You can see the 50, and however, the other moving averages, the 21, the 8 is not as important, but the 21, they are curling up. You can see that following price. But they are right now still below 50. So after a massive move like that, I kind of would expect price to really come back down, and that's what I'm looking for. I mean, my first idea would be to wait for price to come back down, and then wait for a pullback, and then wait for a trend continuation with evidence to the upside, right? The other thing is it may come down even further than that. It may come down all the way down to here, and then I'm not saying down to this area, but somewhere down to here, and then make its move up again, right? And finally, the other thing that you can look at, let me just let me just get rid of that for a second. The other thing is that price may actually, with the volatility in the markets now, Sunday and Monday trading, price may actually go higher, okay, may go higher and then come back down. And that's another thing you can look at. Last week there were some really good opportunities for counter trend plays rather than continuation trends. So this would be a perfect setup for a counter trend, waiting for price to come up higher. Here we have a resistance area, that's the gray rectangle, and then waiting for price to bounce off. If you see one black candle, one bearish candle, you could probably take a sell trade right after that. Okay. So that's another opportunity, another idea for you. And really quickly, let's go to the LEOD. You can see this provides all the information you need to really take a buy trade. However, it was such a massive move, I almost would wait for a bit of a pullback first. But you can see on the LEOD charts, price is broken above the yellow here, above the upper yellow line. It's above the 50. You can see the blue line down below here, the RSI, is already above the 55 level. And you can see this is just as a result. This play had been setting up really for the last 4 or 5 days, ever since price went down, hit the support zone, which I did mention, by the way. I said at that time in last week's video that price was at or near the 200 SMA and watch for a bounce up, and it in fact did, with the culmination on Friday's non-farm payroll news. So if you want to wait right now for price to come back a bit, you can do that and wait for continuation to the upside, or wait for price to go higher and look for a sell trade to the downside off of bounce off of resistance. So really different ideas for you there. Okay, now let's go to the British pound weekly. This one's a little bit different than the Euro USD. There's no real connection as far as um, trying to follow logic here. Here we have basically price going up, down, up, down. It's basically going sideways, even though on the weekly chart you can see we are making higher lows. Okay, so here's a swing low. Here's a higher low. Higher than the previous swing low. Here's another higher low again. So again, it appears to be price maybe trying to go higher, but we have hit a resistance zone right here. And basically, what I'm saying for this week is wait for the evidence. I wouldn't trade this right now, just wait for further evidence. Now, here's the daily chart, and what I'm looking at is price has made a U-turn. You can see price has come back down, and here was a reversal candle. You see it's an inside bar, but then we had this big move up on Friday there. I'm going to kind of say is if you want to try something, take a buy stop order, pending buy stop order above the 145.20. It's almost sounds strange, but a buy stop there, and but it's a very small position. Do not take a normal position, like a very small lot size, in case price just goes up much higher from here on the Sunday money trading, or just completely wait, do not trade, right? Um, Otherwise, like I said, this is kind of going sideways. I really need more evidence to really figure out what's going on here. So I would not really make a trade, but it's something that you can try first. I would probably prefer a pullback first, and then looking for buying evidence to the upside. Okay. And on the LEOD, you can see there's no real trade here. Price did come back down, bounced off the 50 simple moving average. You can see that right there. Um, It stalled here. Price came back down. It stalled with this inside bar. This is a great engulfing candle here. Will price go higher? Most likely, I believe it will go higher, but again, it may just go sideways or come back down and then look for evidence to the upside. Price, if you look down below, the RSI has not quite gone above the 20 yet. So that's giving me an indication that price may go sideways first. Okay, now we get to the Australian USD weekly, and let's see what we've got over here. Um, Here is a great bullish engulfing candle on the weekly, which generally indicates price will be going higher, and I believe so it will. Um, and that's what I see there. And on the daily, let's take a look again. This huge massive candle was the result of the news that came out on Friday. But you can see the turnaround right here, right? The red line again indicates the close of the previous Friday. This is this little inside bar right here, or this little doji. It's a bit bullish, right above the gray rectangle right there. That's kind of a clue of a reversal. The next candle showed the reversal completely in place, and it just went up from there. So here I expect price to just go higher. So you can either again take a buy trade right now or just wait for a wee bit of a pullback. Okay, and the only reason I say that is because, well, right now price is still below the 50 moving average. Okay, so generally, we would be looking for sell trades. However, prices swung massively higher above the 21, and now it's sort of in this no man's land. However, it looks like a counter trend play is in order. So again, if you want to wait for a wee bit of a pullback, then bullish evidence, price most likely will go up here, and then if it breaks this area, will go even higher, right? So that's what I see there. You can see the MACD below. The histo bars are getting smaller and smaller and moving closer to the zero, indicating that the downtrend has now it's almost exhausted and we're reversing. Again, you could look at a counter trend move right here. Okay, and now we go to the LEOD chart. You can see there's a lot more clarity here. And why do I say that? Well, let's take a look. Price had been going down, 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 down. We had been in a massive down move. Okay, price is now bottomed out over here. Let me just draw in. I'll draw in the support. Okay, you can see that right here. Okay. I've drawn in the support. You can also see it's green, which shows that once price bounces off of here, um, I'm looking for price to go higher. Price actually broke through above the upper yellow line. You can see I've drawn in my magenta trend line. So not only is price broken above the yellow line on the LEOD chart, price is broken above the magenta, the trend line. Look at this. The blue RSI is almost above the 55, not quite. If price goes a bit higher, it will be above the 55. The histobars, though, are still a bit way off the zero level. So, and here, if you want to be kind of safe, you could take a pending buy stop order about, let's say, about 6, 7, 8 pips or 10 pips above the high of this candle, right? I mean, you can always take, according to the rules, we're not quite there, not complete verification that price will go higher. I mean, after this huge big candle, price may indeed come back down a bit, and then you can look for buying evidence to the upside. However, if you take a buy trade right now, your stop loss, as you know, would have to be below this candle, like below the yellow, below the candle. I would not put my stop loss here; it is too far below, but right about here, and you've still got room to move if price goes higher. However, you could also wait for a depending buy stop order to be taken, and that might be a safer play. Okay, so now we move to the New Zealand USD weekly. Exact same thing with this pair as the Australian US dollar. You can see Friday's candle. We made a big U-turn. This is the weekly chart, and I believe price is going to be going higher. Okay, so right now it is trending higher. Again, we are in uh, prices, bounced off the 50 right here. I'm also going to do something else. Okay, I'm going to take a duplicate of this trend line here to show you that we're basically in a channel. Okay, so I've double clicked. You see, I've gotten the boxes there. Okay, double click, drag it over, and you can see price looks like eventually, perhaps over the next couple of weeks, could go higher all the way up to this area, the top of this channel trend line, as well as the resistance of this gray rectangle here. Let's go down to the daily. Okay, massive move up. So I kind of expect, that this is the weird thing. Sunday, Monday trading, there's often a lot of volatility. We could even, from here, price could go up higher, at least another, quite a ways, at least to the previous swing high here. Go back to this candle. Okay, take a look back here. Okay, this is the daily chart. Do you see this? Massive swing up and then another massive swing up here, even though we were just below the resistance. Okay, so here again, same thing, massive swing up after the reversal, and again, price almost did not do a retracement at all. Price just from here went from here to here. So it's quite possible that price would go from here all the way up to here. However, if you want to be really super safe and conservative, you could place a pending buy limit order just above the support zone here of the gray rectangle. So hoping that price would come down at least a bit to about here, and then price would go back up this way. Okay, so um, sometimes that'll do it, but going back to the history here, sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. So I do expect price to go higher, but the first thing I would do is I would wait for a pullback. Again, you can take a look below here. The histo bars are getting shorter. They're getting closer to the zero level, which means the downtrend is almost exhausted. We should be continuing to go higher. But again, this was one massive move, and I always like to play a little bit safe, just waiting for a wee bit of a pullback, and then buying evidence to the upside. The other thing, as always, and it's something that we've got to look at a little bit more carefully in the near future, if not right now, is waiting for price just to go up higher and waiting for price to bounce back, looking for a perfect counter trend trade. Again, take a look at the previous swing highs here. See, price goes up, hits this area, one black bearish candle, getting in right there, boom, all the way down, massive pips. Here, bounce off the previous swing high here, and also the gray rectangle, which indicates resistance. Look at that. Price all the way down, getting in right there, and then boom, all the way down here. So uh, that's something that you've got to consider. If you have not taken counter trend trades, then it's something that you may want to do at some point in time. Again, counter trends are great. You can always open up an order with small lot sizes. Okay, let's go to the New Zealand USD. Here's the LEOD. Same thing as the Australian. You can see we broke up really high above the yellow line. However, the actual opportunity most likely was, I'm going to do something. Okay, let me just Okay. Always, I love drawing trend lines. Okay. So you can see price broke above the downtrend line here. See this candle? It almost broke above the yellow line. I would have placed an order either right at the open of the next candle, and if you would have done that, you would have caught some massive pips. Um, 134. Your stop loss would have been just here on the other side of the yellow line here. So you can see down below the blue RSI is now above the 55. The histo bars are, I'll make that bigger for you. You can see the histo bars are just a wee bit below zero, but climbing steadily. And it just, this bothers me. Is this one big white candle? It's, I'm always a little bit more conservative, waiting for a bit of a pullback and then looking for a trend continuation with evidence to the upside. Okay, and this is what we talked about last week, the TCE, the trend continuation with evidence to the upside. Now we get to the US CAD. Here we start making U-turns in the opposite direction. So the first four currency pairs I talked about, um, the first four currency pairs price was coming down and now it made a U-turn and price was going up higher. Here, we're looking at the opposite where prices went up, okay, and now price is coming back down. And again, the US CAD is usually the opposite of Euro USD, especially the US Swiss franc is opposite to the Euro USD. So now we're looking at the U-turns going the opposite direction, okay? And again, on the weekly chart, you can see that. Here we have a huge, massive candle to the downside last week, and you can see also it has broken a trend line. Okay, so I've drawn in a trend line. So price was going up, down, uh, testing the trend line, testing this massive support area here, and finally price has broken the trend line. And we're at massive support again, but now the next thing is, will price break below support and continue coming down further, or bounce up here? So again, you could be looking at a bounce off the support for price to go up a bit higher. My bias is to the downside, but again, this is a wait and see situation. I would probably not place a trade right now. Okay, let's just go to the US CAD to see if there's any clarity on the LEOD charts. I often love going to the LEOD to see if there is clarity. And the reason is because there's so little on the chart, just the two yellow lines, and price is either above it or below it. But in this case, you can see price is just kind of broken below. You see, this is a daily chart. Price is just broken just below the yellow. It's actually closed just below the yellow. Look down below. The RSI. Okay, the RSI is almost below the 45, okay, not quite, and the histo bars are still above zero. So here's something that you could do. You could place a pending sell stop order. Okay, let me just draw that in. Pending sell stop order somewhere right there, somewhere at that area or below. Okay, pending sell stop, hopefully catching price on the downside. And if price continues going down, you've got a lot of room to move, because let's take a look. The open space is from approximately here down to, you see this swing low here, previous swing low? So we've got a movement of at least 350 pips if it breaks this support area. Okay, so that's the US CAD, US Swiss franc. This is a little bit different in the sense that, well, no, it's the same. It's again, massive move to the downside last week. There you go again, indicating US currency has become really weak last week. So U.S. currency is becoming weaker. Some of the other currencies are becoming stronger. Here we have a sideways market. I would not trade this at all. This one especially, I would not trade right now. Just a wait and see situation. Let's go to the daily. Again, massive move here. I kind of almost expect price to come down maybe a wee bit lower, then a bounce higher, or even a bounce higher from here. There could be a good reason to take a counter trend trade higher, but again, I would just wait and see. There's no real clarity there. Let's go to the, okay, you can see it has broken though, but we are so close to the 50, right? So price could come down a bit lower, like, a bit lower, maybe even just below the 50, and come right back up and bounce back higher. So again, the histo bars down below are well above zero. So there's not much, it's not giving me much evidence there that price will continue to the downside. Although the RSI, which is a stronger indicator, it's showing, this blue line is showing that is well below the yellow. So, like I said, it could come down a wee bit further. I mean, if you want, you can place a sell order right now. However, the caution is your stop loss would have to be way up here. So it's way too much risk. I would not do it. I would wait for a pullback first, then look for trend continuation to the downside with evidence. Okay. And finally, we get to our last pair. We've got the US Japanese. Same thing, all the way down last week. Last week was a massive move down, 428 pips. Wow, a lot of pips there in 1 week. So, but look what happened a few weeks before that. We had another massive move down to hit a support area close to the 200 moving average, bounced all the way up. So you can see this is a U-turn up and good for counter trend to the upside. But now this last week, we have a U-turn to the downside, okay? And again, we're again hitting the 200. So I kind of expect a bounce up higher again, just like the previous couple of weeks. Okay, so let's go down to the daily chart. You can see here. Okay, so prices come right back down to the huge support area that's indicated with the gray zone here. Although the histobar, take a look at this on the daily chart, histobar is below zero, so indicating that there is going to be a lot of pressure to the downside. Um, and again, which means that the US is losing strength against the Japanese yen. But again, it's a wait and see situation. So if you want, you would have to almost place either a sell stop order below the previous swing low here, right? But then price may come back down and go back up with a false break to the downside. So the first thing I would do is I would wait for a pullback. This is what I always advocate. Always wait for a pullback, then look for a trend continuation to the downside. Okay, and finally we got the LEOD chart. You can see we've hit an area of support. So again, just waiting for a pullback and then waiting for further evidence to see what we can do next. And finally, really quickly, I'm just going to look at some other pairs. The strong currencies last week were the New Zealand dollar, the euro, the Japanese yen, and the Australian dollar. The weak currencies, obviously, as a result, also of with the non-farm payroll on Friday, were the U.S. dollar and the British pound. Just a quick look at some cross pairs that you could look at. Here is the daily chart of the British pound New Zealand dollar. Well, you can see what's certainly happened. Prices closed below the 50. The histo bars are really close to the zero level here. And again, I would not just take a sell trade right away. I would always wait for a bit of a pullback and wait for a trend continuation to the downside. But it's up to you what you want to do. Take a look. Same thing with the British pound, Australian dollar seems to be heading lower. Seems to be heading lower. It's up to you. Do you want to take a trade right now or wait for a bit of a pullback and then take a sell trade? British pound, Japanese yen. This is another one that just broke a trend line. You can see again, it looks like it's headed down. Here is the previous big swing low back here. So we've got room. We've got room for at least another 200 and something pips to the downside. Again, you know, whenever there's a breakout, especially with a trend or any type of breakout, I would always wait for a bit of a pullback and then look for evidence to the downside. And here is one last pair I want you to look at. New Zealand Canadian dollar. This pair seems to be going higher. This is the New Zealand Canadian dollar on the 1 hour chart. It's broken a trend line. Again, you can wait for a bit of a pullback down to this zone, wait for a bit of a pullback, look for buying evidence to the upside, and if it does that, then you could be looking at quite a number of pips, 160 pips at least to the previous swing high here. So that's another pair that you could look at that seems to be on the move. So that's all I've got for you this week. Hopefully this helps you. By the way, my next video, the other video, I'm going to have for you later on, and that's going to give you the recap for what happened last week. But I'm going to have a couple of special lessons in there on on U-turns, how to catch these U-turns and how to take these counter trend trades. So make sure you view the other video as well. And happy trading for this coming week. Looks like a lot of rain is forecast. So keep dry. Happy trading. We'll talk to you again soon. And it's bye for now.